Welcome, folks, to a Gifted Education presentation. Here's what's been happening lately. The DMs are full. They're full of questions that may or may not be related to our usual Thursday programming. So it is only fair that those individuals in the current absence of the GPP, the Gift Performance Podcast, if you remember the GPP, one love, you're a real one. In the temporary hiatus that the GPP is taking, that someone answer your questions. And some of them require more of a long form approach. This is one of them. So an individual, Mr. Juan Pineda, came to me and he said, listen, I'm struggling. I got clients that I know are not ready to go into a cutting phase, whether they be male or female. I think more times than not, they fall on the female side than the male side. Just that's kind of how it lands. What are you going to tell them to do? Or what do you tell them to do to buy in? They're not ready to cut. They definitely don't want to bulk because they don't want to see the scale up, or the scale go up rather. What do I tell them to do? So here it is, the perennial question, the everlasting question. Do I want to cut or do I want to bulk as a lifestyle client? What's going to be best for me, with the idea that we are trying to maximize long-term success here. So long-term success is long-term hitting of your goals, both short, 3 to 6 month, long, 12 plus month goals, and adherence. So being able to stick to the plan with not too much deviation. So definitions are extremely important here. So we are going to define some things so that this makes sense, or makes the most sense to everyone watching. A lifestyle client can be defined as someone who does not have competitive aspirations. 5-10 pounds of fat loss, look better with my shirt off, want my health markers to improve, I want to look sexy naked, all that kind of stuff, that falls into lifestyle clients. So they're not getting ready for a powerlifting meet, bodybuilding competition, weightlifting meet, CrossFit, whatever. There's no competitive aspiration there. Could they go that route eventually? Of course they could, but for now, they fall in the lifestyle category. So there's our definition there. A lifestyle client is someone who wants to improve their health, fitness, performance with no competitive aspiration. A cut, traditionally defined as a fat loss or a weight loss phase. I think most people are transitioning away from a cut being a weight loss phase over to more of a fat loss approach. Because what's the actual goal of weight reduction or cutting? It's to lose fat, when our goal usually isn't to lose muscle mass, except in extreme conditions. Bulk being the opposite of that, looking to gain weight, a weight gaining phase or a muscle gaining phase. The bulking side is a little bit more nebulous than the cutting side, just because you're not 100% sure. You can't be 100% sure how much fat versus muscle you're gaining, but we oftentimes call it a muscle gain phase because that better highlights what our goal is. Our goal in a weight gain phase, not to gain fat, it is to gain muscle. So back to the question itself, our lifestyle clients, to cut or to bulk. So the standard procedure on a client intake, you get an intake as a coach, or you are a client and you submit an intake. Short-term goal is usually to lose weight. The most common weight loss that I see that is reasonable, so that can be actually achieved, is something around 10% of a body weight reduction or greater in a few months. So for a 200-pound male, they might come in and they say, I want to lose 20 pounds over the next 3 months. That would be a reasonable goal. And then you kind of backtrack from there and see if they're in a position to actually pursue that, which is the purpose of this video. Long-term goal for lifestyle clients is usually to maintain at their new body weight or retain 100% of their weight loss. So here's a common goal. You might have said it before. If you're a coach, you've probably heard it before. I'd like to lose 50 pounds and keep it off. It's a very standard goal right there. Ambitious weight loss goal on the front end. I want to keep it off forever on the back end. It's not impossible to get to that, but as a coach, or if you're a client who has worked with a coach before, you realize that some of these goals may have to be reframed by your coach in order to maximize the chances for success. So the problem with these usual client intake goals are that the knowledge gap exists in terms of what it takes to achieve those goals. A lot of people think I can be extremely restrictive on the front end, lose that 10% of my body weight very quickly, returning to my old habits and sustaining that. So a lot of flaws in that, or a lot of cons, a lot of things, a lot of contradictions in there that simply cannot happen. The first one being, I'm going to lose 10% of my body weight quickly. I guess it depends how you define quickly, but the maximum rate of weight loss that we at Gift Performance shoot for is 1% body weight per week, meaning that a 10% weight reduction would take you roughly 10 weeks. If you ask a client what they think short term usually is, you're probably going to get an answer anywhere between 1 month to 2 months, or 4 to 8 weeks. So we've already kind of missed the mark on that. The second flaw in that statement is that they are going to return to their old habits and be able to maintain that weight loss. Your old habits, your current habits pre-weight loss intervention are what made you overweight or obese to begin with. A return to those old habits is not a way to sustain weight loss. So you can already see that if you are a coach watching this, I'm sure you've had this conversation before, you need to reframe the goal, adjusting the time frame. And you also need to ensure that the process along the way includes checkpoints, habit building check marks, if you will, so that the individual does not relapse to old habits, regaining that weight. America doesn't have a weight loss problem. We're great at losing weight. We have a weight maintenance problem. People struggle to keep it off. It's the harder part. So in that, a 1% body weight loss per week is aggressive. It's not impossible, but it is aggressive. Certainly not sustainable. It's not something that you want to stick around at for very long. So for someone to achieve greater than that for a 10, 12 week period and then sustain that is impossible. Second piece there, obviously the bullet point below, outside of your severely overweight individuals, I'm talking BMI 35 plus. I don't need any bodybuilders in the comments like, I'm a BMI 34. You talking to me, bro? Talking about BMI 35 with a body fat that matches up with that. So we can say body fat percentage individuals 15 to 20% above what we would consider a healthy figure. Healthy figure for men, somewhere between 12 to 20%. Healthy figure from women, anywhere between 18 to 28%. So add 10 to 15% of that. Those are individuals that can reduce their body weight by 10% without a ton of dietary side effects that are going to increase the likelihood of relapse. So those are individuals where weight loss retention is possible. It doesn't happen every time. So most of the time it doesn't happen, just because you're inherently going to gain some weight back in the form of water and carbohydrate. But for those individuals, they can sometimes actually retain that weight loss. So what's the actual solution here? What is the solution to the problem that there is a knowledge gap for clients in terms of what to expect going into it? What is the solution in terms of what if this individual has pre-existing conditions coming in that make the environment, their physiological environment, not conducive to fat loss? Well, the solution is, as with most things, you just have to run a pro and con analysis based on the client to see if they're actually in a position where they can pursue weight loss on the front end. Because if they check any of these boxes that are coming in terms of no, they're not ready, if there's any of those red flags, throw the red flag up, Jake. We want to pursue weight maintenance or slow weight gain instead of weight loss. And I promise you on the back end, you'll have significantly greater success. So some pro and con analysis here of pros of starting in a surplus. So the goal here, or the entire premise of this question, was that Juan was struggling in selling his clients on starting in a surplus, buying into the process, and getting long-term fat loss success, obviously not shooting for it in the short term. So some pros here. Number one is that you can build habits under less pressure. There's a high amount of pressure in a fat loss phase. A high stress environment. Calories are low, cardio is oftentimes high, and you can't avoid the stressors of daily life. So by removing the cardio, by increasing the calories to maintenance or just above, you create a much less pressure intensive environment in which these individuals can learn the habits of meal prepping, food choices, eating out, and managing that in their calories, tracking their macros, the basics, the foundation of what's going to actually set them up for long-term fat loss success. Throw them into the pressure cooker of a deficit right away, and it's very, very likely that not only do you avoid building or miss an opportunity of building good habits, you actually start to learn some bad habits. Bad habits being overly restricting on cardios, good food, bad food denominations, restricting social situations, just avoiding going out altogether, binge and purge cycles. You can really, really get into some nasty stuff if you don't spend the early periods of this phase learning habits. The second one is focusing on importance of building muscle early on. Now, is it a white lie that muscle is 300% or 3 times as metabolically active as fat tissue? It's not a white lie, because technically it is true. So technically this is a true statement here, in that muscle over a 24-hour period burns roughly 6 calories. Fat burns roughly 1 to 2 calories per pound. So technically it's true. Maybe I even undersold it. Could be up to 600% or 6 times. Does it matter that much long-term metabolically? Yes and no. Yes and no. I think a lot of people who come in from a lifelong endeavor of yo-yo dieting, sedentary lifestyle, standard American living that, 50 to 60% of the population probably live on a daily basis, which is causing them to be overweight or obese. Focusing on building some muscle early on is going to give the client some early wins, and it's going to set them up, even if it's to a small degree, for some metabolic success down the line. So, is it all that bad to build muscle? No. There's a lot of really, really good data on strength and muscle mass and an early mortality, or all-cause mortality, basically dying before you should have died. A lot of good research on how much muscle mass you have, how much strength you have, those two being correlated, and how long you live. So, metabolically, not the biggest deal. For your long-term health, long-term metabolic health, though, probably a very important thing to have more muscle rather than less. Number 3, deal with residual side effects of previously poor diet plans. So whether the individual tried to undergo weight loss on their own because they read about turbo keto on the front of some magazine while they were checking out at Publix. It's real, Jake. Put it right there so that people don't think I'm lying. Or maybe they were working with another coach. They didn't have a super great experience. The individual put them on an overly restrictive diet. Now they're coming out of that. They restricted, maybe lost some weight, gained it all plus more back. They come to you and they say, listen, my goal is still fat loss. Putting that individual who's already metabolically compromised down on muscle mass, training is probably completely shit. Stress is super high. Body image isn't great. Putting that individual into another fat loss phase, running them right into another caloric deficit, just to kind of have them run through that cycle again and have to overly restrict and then binge and then regain it back, is not ideal. The best way to deal with residual side effects from a physiological and a psychological standpoint of a previously poor diet plan, or just an overly challenging diet, I can think of like a bodybuilding prep, is to be in a caloric surplus. So take your time, let your body cool off and heal from those previous fat loss phases before you dive into your next one. Number 4, teaching training progressions. So training progressions kind of feeds into number 2 in terms of building muscle and strength, but it's much, much easier to teach someone how to progress their training from a week-by-week basis. Doesn't really matter what kind of system you're using, a train to failure system, RIR system, if you're a performance-based coach, whatever it is, it's a lot easier for someone to make progress at maintenance or in a surplus than it is in a deficit. We as humans are selfishly motivated by our own successes. If you can get someone away from my only success is by checking the scale to, there's a lot of other ways to define success. I can do my first pull-up, my first push-up. I can squat my body weight. I can bench my body weight. I can do this amount of push-ups. You can really steer things in a direction of making someone more performance and process oriented than outcome scale oriented if they have the calories to support training progressions. Most of the time in a deficit, especially a steep deficit, your training progressions are few and far between. Just because it's not an environment in metabolically where you're going to be building a lot of muscle or be able to express a lot of force, a lot of strength. So surplus definitely checks that box. Last one here, I think this is one of the more important ones in terms of dealing with lifestyle clients who are not robots, who do not want to follow a simple meal plan for the rest of their life, step on stage, yada, 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 be done, is learning to balance their social life with their health pursuit goals. Deficits are hard, man. Eating out and drinking with your friends on a deficit is near impossible. So avoid that stress altogether, that constant feeling of Monday through Thursday, I'm great. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I've fallen off plan because I can't fit, nachos and a skinny margarita into my calories. Avoid that altogether. Teach the individual how to balance portion sizes, refeeds, higher calorie days with lower calorie days. Teach them to balance all of that in a surplus where the degree of flexibility is significantly higher. You'll have a much better chance for success. Me personally, maybe you as a coach, maybe you as a client who have tried to balance social life with health pursuits before and haven't been super successful with that, you know the importance of this. It's a lot easier at 2,100 calories than it is at 1,200 calories. I can promise you that. Now, this wouldn't be a presentation if it didn't have some cons. So starting in a deficit, what will be the cons for a lifestyle client who may not be ready, in terms of starting in a deficit? So when a client comes to you, their goal is, especially on the lifestyle side, want to look better with my shirt off, want to improve my health, all that. Usually their goal has at least part of it is I want to lose some weight, lose some body fat. So you as a coach coming to that individual and you say, all right, now, our goal from the start is going to be, we're going to either maintain or we're going to gain some weight. You just lost a client. They're out. They're done. They don't want to hear it. Their goal is losing weight. You came to them and said, I hear you. We're going to gain weight instead. So it's oftentimes something that's very, very hard to navigate in terms of steering the conversation to where they see a benefit from that actual goal of gaining weight. So you as a coach need to learn about the client, do some actual coaching here is what I'm basically saying. You have to learn, get some blood work from them so you can look at markers and say, hey, listen, your cortisol will improve, these inflammatory markers will improve significantly. Like, look at your testosterone, your sex hormones are tanked because you've been in a deficit for so long. If we bring you into a small surplus that won't result in egregious weight gain, maybe, 0.1, 0.2 pounds per week, we can heal those markers up, 8-10 weeks or so, and then we can transition into a fat loss phase. Aha. Now you've saved a client relationship. You've heard what they've said. I want to lose weight. You've considered the environment. You've explained to them why it's not a good idea. And then you've given them a path forward with a specific timeline on when they can expect to start working towards their goal. Boom. You just saved the day. You're welcome. Send me 10% of that client's payment. I earned it. This is, the second one here is a big one that I see a lot in terms of working with individuals who are severely overweight. So in severely overweight populations, if you ever watched My 600 Pound Life, you've probably seen this up close and personal, is that allowing health complications to persist in severely overweight individuals should be avoided. So if you've got someone who comes to you and they say they're 450 pounds and their cholesterol's 500 and they've been diabetic for 5 years, the time to fix things is now. So by starting in a deficit, you're starting in a surplus rather, you may actually lose time in terms of working towards improving those health complications. The good news here is this is extremely, extremely rare situation here where you're going to have to start someone who is, morbidly obese in a surplus, because a surplus for an individual like that is just an insane amount of calories. So just teaching them about healthy food choices, making sure they're getting plenty of protein, plenty of water, and staying active will be more than enough to lose plenty of weight very fast. And their health markers will improve because of that. So very rare one, number 2, but still something to consider. Number 3 kind of plays into number 1. There is a lower chance for long-term buy-in without an upfront proof of the process. So upfront proof of the process is getting them to their goals, proving that your plan is efficacious. And if their goal is to lose weight, the only proof in the pudding there is seeing a number on the scale that goes down. If the number on the scale goes up, each week that happens, you slowly lose that client. So if you're not proactively on the front end explaining why these things are happening, you can pretty much bet that the individual will not be bought in long term until they start to see what they actually want. Number 4, you'll also run into some sociocultural norms around health optimization rooted in weight loss. A lot of it is a smaller body is a healthier body. So therefore, if I get my body smaller in size, it will be healthier. Now, is there some truth in that? Maybe, but it's a little bit more nuanced than just saying smaller equals healthier. Plenty of small bodies out there that are very, very unhealthy because of the means that they got there. Any coach can starve you and get you small, not necessarily going to mean that you are healthy. So you have to consider a deeper look at metabolic health rather than just a very exterior look at the physique itself and noting health based on that. So that's a whole different video right there. The last one here is it's very, very challenging as a coach unless you know your shit, how to define early success when an individual, they fill out their application, short-term goal, lose 20 pounds, long-term goal, lose 50 pounds. At 2 months, the individual is up 4 pounds. Are they stronger? Yes. Do they have more energy? Yes. Are they sleeping better? Yes. Sex drive? Much better. Blood markers? Significantly improved. But what did you do wrong? They gained weight. They didn't lose weight. So defining that early success has to start day 1 in redefining goals. I see that you've noted weight loss on your intake form. While we are going to pursue that long term, we're also going to go for A, B, C, and D. That way, 8 weeks down the road, when they have achieved A, B, C, and D, but maybe their weight hasn't moved very much, and they say, I'm really bummed out the scale hasn't moved. You can say, look at your glucose, look at your triglycerides, look at your blood pressure, look at your energy levels that you're marking throughout the day, look at your improvement in sleep quality, look at how much better you're performing in the gym, look at how much muscle you've built. You can really, really steer the conversation in a direction that shows them how successful they've actually been, regardless of what the scale says. So get yourself ready. Prepare yourself for conversations like that, because how do I define early success when the individual set goals that are only about the pursuit of weight loss? I just gave it to you, gave you the answer. Write it down, rewind the video, run it back, do what you got to do. You're welcome. So what is the practical recommendation? If you are a client or you an athlete and you are trying to do this yourself, make sure you pause the video, take a picture of this slide right here. Coaches, feel free, steal this. I don't care. Just trying to help out. Just trying to make the world a better place. That's how I do it. So some practical recommendations for both coaches and clients. Number 1, if you identify an individual or you think you are an individual who is not primed for fat loss, how do I define that? I have attempted fat loss 2 or 3 times within the past year with early success, but long-term adherence issues causing me to gain the weight back or more than that. It's how we're going to define someone who is fat loss compromised. Why are you fat loss compromised? talk to a coach. giftperformance.com/sign up, fill out an application, talk to a coach today. They will help you dive deeper. But if you are one of these individuals, or you are a coach and you have identified one of your clients as one of these individuals, I suggest you follow this guideline right here. Start calories at maintenance or just below. 3 to 5% below maintenance is going to be more than individuals are used to eating, more times than not, but still in a small deficit so that their weight does not go up, or if it does go up, it goes up slightly just as a result of body weight fluctuations. Long term, you should see very, very slow weight loss or weight maintenance here. Maintenance calories. A lot of ways to calculate it. Body weight times 14 or 15 works very, very well. Or body weight in kilos times 24 multiplied by an activity factor of 1.2, 1.4, 1.6 if you are sedentary, moderate activity, high activity. 0 to 5,000 steps a day, 5 to 9,000 or 5 to 10,000 steps a day, 10,000 or more steps a day. Rewind that. That probably got a little complicated. Maybe Jake will put it up. Put it right there. Put what I just said right there. Step count. Sound effects. So that's how you identify your maintenance calories. So start there or just below. Just below works fine. This is going to prevent an early weight spike that may cause panic. So avoid smashing that panic button. Now, if you set an individual who has been eating very low carbohydrate on a higher carbohydrate diet, as you probably should, these individuals are going to gain weight as a result of increased glycogen retention and increased water. It's going to go up. Might as well just explain it to them on the front end. Tell them, hey, this is what you can expect. That way they don't email you after the first week of check-ins absolutely panicked. Or if you're the client, that way you don't panic. At no point in this process should you panic. If you hit 8 weeks and you're up like 20 pounds, hit my line and then we can start panicking together. Number 2, preach the benefits of physical activity. Using this time to build habits around increasing your physical activity. That can be leisure time physical activity. I like to play tennis, basketball, throw the football with my son. Or it can be in a more structured format like a step count. I am going to take a 5 to 10 minute walk after every single one of my 5 meals each day. Build that habit, sustain that habit into when you start a fat loss diet. And I pinky promise, don't break a pinky promise, that you'll have significantly greater success during your fat loss phase because of that higher physical activity. Number 3 is building in metrics outside of scale weight and make them mandatory to track. Not, I want you to try tracking these. Hey, track them and don't miss. Every week, want to have data to look back at. The more data we have to look back at, the less anxiety we have. Anxiety is a fear of the unknown. If I have a lot of data points to look at, that amount of unknown or the unknown factors greatly decreases. So what do I want you to track? I want you to take pictures. I'm not comfortable taking pictures. Take the goddamn pictures. Or I'll come to your house and I'll take pictures of you. I won't actually do that. But take the pictures. Seriously. I can't tell you how many clients that I've had who have said, I don't want to take pictures on the front end. And I've said, that's fine. And then they make this amazing transformation. And we're like, all right, let's do a before and after. And they're like, I don't have a before. It's like, well, fuck. Don't we wish that we had a before so that we had something to look back at and be like, wow, this is a serious transformation. And then I say, you look great. You look amazing. You should have taken the before picture. No going back in time. But I can't tell you, I have a ton of people who are super regretful about not taking that before picture. Pictures, week to week to week to week to week. That way, when you gain 3 pounds in a week, you look at the pictures, stack them next to each other. Holy shit, I look the exact same. Yeah, you didn't actually gain 3 pounds of fat because that's borderline impossible in a week. Measurements are also huge. Another one, weight jumps up 3 pounds in a week. Oh man, it went all to my stomach. What's your waist measurement? Well, it was 34 last week. It's 33.5 this week. That's curious. How did you gain 30 pounds all in your stomach, but your waist measurement went down? I'll tell you what happened. Not what you think happened. Measurements can also be huge. You can track improvements in muscle size in certain areas and then track measurement decreases or fat loss in other areas. Waist, hips, chest, all that kind of stuff. Training progress. Come on. We've preached this a million times. Track your training progress. Log it. Get some sort of app. There's a million of them. I recommend Rep Count. I recommend Rep Count when it was free. Yo, Rep Count. Make your shit free again. or at least have a free version. This $3.99, it's not going to cut it. It ain't cutting it. But buy some way, maybe a logbook, piece of paper, bring that to the gym, track your training. Because again, you're 2 months in, you're up 3 pounds, you feel like you got fat, you look at your training progress, you've made 15% improvements in load moved, and you're performing 2 to 3 extra reps on each set. I'll tell you that there's one explanation there as to how you got that much stronger. Your neurological system adapted in weeks 3 through 5 while you were also building muscle in the background. Everything past week 5, we can explain week 5, week 6-ish, maybe up to 8 weeks, with additional muscle mass, especially if you're a beginner. So track your weight, track your reps, rest times, all that kind of stuff in training. Again, the more data we have, the better. Are there other things that you can track? Absolutely. Macros are super important. Average weekly weights are awesome. Skin folds you can throw in there as well. More data is never a bad thing. Number 4, celebrate victories outside of your scale measurements. So yeah, seeing the scale go down is cool. That's how we've been taught to quantify progress or quantify success. But I promise you'll find success in a lot more other ways in this journey or along this journey than just stepping on the scale. So macronutrient adherence. I hit all my macros perfect this week. Amazing. That's way more impressive than stepping on the scale and seeing the number go down. That shit's influenced by a million other things. It's out of your control. You hit your perfect macros this week? That's awesome. That's actually something that you should be very proud of. Performance improvements in the gym. Again, that is a reflection of your own effort. It is not a secondary measure or an outcome measure like the scale. It is a 100% effort-based measurement. So give yourself a pat on the back for that. Clothes fitting better, also a really good one. Again, if you do lose weight as a result, or you go through a serious body recomp and you need to buy a new wardrobe as a result of working with a gifted performance coach, we do not take any responsibility for that. You are responsible for buying your own new wardrobe. So clothes fitting better is also another really good one. Number 4, last but not least, setting yourself or your clients up for future success. Lifelong journey here, folks. The body you're in, at least until Elon Musk transfers us all into robot bodies, is the one that you're stuck with for life. Set it up for long-term success. Keep the vision way out in front of you. Do all the stuff that you need to do today, but don't forget what that long-term vision is. Healthy, happy, blood markers look good, performance is great in the gym, energy. I want to watch my kids and my grandkids get old, and I don't want to die decrepit in some retirement home. That got dark in a hurry, but it really is the mission. Do your metabolism, do your body a long-term favor. I know you want fat loss right now. I want it right now. But your body might not be primed for that. So do what you need to do in the right here and right now. When you look at your investment portfolio, you see that I want $10 million in there today, right now. Hitting reload on that every 5 seconds isn't going to get you there. What you do is you make your deposits, you set it, and you forget it. Same thing with your health, your body fat, and your weight long term. Do the things that you need to do to succeed today. Set it, forget it. I promise you'll have more long-term success than you ever could have imagined. Guys, this is a nice little pros and cons. Juan, thanks for the question. It was a nice little thought experiment for me to go through, and I think it'll be really helpful for everyone here. So everyone, go ahead and give a round of applause. Round of applause emojis all over. Woo! Thanks, Juan, for a great question. If you do have a question that you want answered in this long format? Long format? Who knows? I don't know what the correct way to say that is. In this long form style, you can submit those to me at _Squatfather trademark. Often imitated, never duplicated, highly motivated, leaving his fans exasperated. I'll see you on the next one in the meantime and in between times. And as always, go ahead and stay gifted, why don't you? Bye!